Most people believe transformation starts with wanting something badly, but desire has never been powerful enough to change a life. Desire can ignite emotion, but it cannot sustain discipline. You can want better finances, stronger relationships, or a healthier body and still remain exactly where you are. Wanting is passive. Transformation is not. Transformation begins the moment a decision is made that there will be no retreat, no negotiation, and no return to the old way of operating. A decision is different from a wish because a decision alters behavior. When you decide, your actions automatically reorganize around that choice. Time shifts, priorities shift, excuses lose their authority. Many people say they want change, but their daily routines remain untouched, which proves that no real decision has been made. A true decision leaves evidence. It shows up in what you do when no one is watching. Desire is emotional, and emotions are unstable. They rise and fall based on circumstances, energy levels, and mood. Decisions, on the other hand, are intellectual and intentional. They are rooted in logic, values, and long-term vision. When emotions fade, a decision remains intact and continues to govern behavior long after the excitement is gone. Every breakthrough in life can be traced back to a single decisive moment where someone resolved internally that the current reality was no longer acceptable. That internal resolve did not wait for perfect timing or external approval. It was formed in the realization that staying the same carried a higher cost than changing. People often delay decisions because they fear the consequences of change, but indecision carries its own consequences. Every day without a decision silently reinforces the status quo. Comfort grows stronger, habits become deeper, and over time, the life you did not choose becomes the life you are trapped in. The mind loves possibility because possibility requires no accountability. As long as something remains a dream, failure cannot occur. Decisions eliminate escape routes. They turn possibility into responsibility. This is why many people romanticize change but resist commitment. Commitment demands proof. When a decision is genuine, it produces internal alignment. Your thoughts stop arguing with each other. Your energy becomes focused. Distractions lose their appeal because they no longer align with where you are going. What once felt difficult becomes necessary, and what once felt optional becomes essential. There is a clear difference between people who talk about change and people who embody change. The difference is not intelligence, talent, or resources. It is decisiveness. Decisive people move before they feel ready. Indecisive people wait for certainty that never comes. Transformation is not gradual at the level of decision. It is instant. The lifestyle change may take time, but the internal shift happens in a moment. Once the decision is made, the old self is no longer in control. That is why relapse often happens when the decision was emotional rather than foundational. Many people confuse motivation with commitment. Motivation is a feeling. Commitment is a binding agreement with oneself. When motivation fades, commitment continues to execute. A decision rooted in commitment does not ask how difficult something will be. It asks whether it aligns with the chosen direction. Life responds to certainty. When your decisions are weak, life tests you. When your decisions are firm, life rearranges itself around them. Opportunities, resources, and relationships are attracted to people who have decided because decisiveness signals leadership. The reason change feels exhausting for some people is because they keep restarting the decision process every day. They debate with themselves repeatedly instead of standing on a resolved choice. Deciding once and for all conserves mental energy and strengthens consistency. You cannot accidentally stumble into a better life because accidents produce random outcomes. Decisions produce intentional results. What you repeatedly choose becomes what you repeatedly experience. Your daily life is nothing more than yesterday's decisions playing out. When you decide, you stop asking for permission from your past. Old mistakes lose their influence. Previous limitations no longer define what is possible. A decision redraws the boundary of who you are and what you allow. Every major transformation starts silently, long before external results appear. It begins with a private moment of resolve that changes how you think, how you speak to yourself, and how you show up. That internal shift is invisible, but it is irreversible once it is real. Most people chase comfort while secretly hoping for growth, not realizing the two move in opposite directions. Comfort preserves what already exists. Growth demands something new. The moment you prioritize ease, you unconsciously vote to stay the same. Expansion begins only when you willingly step into resistance instead of running from it. Everything that strengthens you does so by applying pressure. Muscles grow by being torn under weight. Character grows by carrying responsibility. Skill grows by repeated friction with difficulty. Without resistance, nothing improves. Comfort feels good, but it does nothing to sharpen you. Growth does not ask if something is convenient. It asks if something is necessary. Necessary actions are often uncomfortable because they stretch identity, challenge habits, and threaten familiarity. Comfort protects the current version of you, but growth requires that version to evolve or be left behind. Many people mistake peace for comfort, but they are not the same. Peace comes from alignment with purpose. Comfort comes from avoiding tension. One strengthens you, the other slowly weakens you. Growth often feels chaotic at first because it disrupts patterns that once felt safe. Resistance is not a sign that something is wrong. It is evidence that something is working. When you encounter friction, it means you are pushing against a boundary. Boundaries only expand when they are challenged. Avoiding resistance guarantees stagnation. The reason discipline feels uncomfortable is because it interrupts impulse. Impulse seeks short-term pleasure. Discipline seeks long-term results. Every disciplined action forces you to delay gratification, and that delay is what builds power over time. Growth requires you to do things your old self would avoid. Waking up earlier, staying focused longer, saying no more often, choosing effort when rest would feel easier. Each of these decisions applies constructive pressure to your identity. Comfort whispers reassurance. Growth demands courage. Comfort tells you that you deserve rest. Growth reminds you that unfinished potential is heavier than effort. One soothes the present, the other secures the future. The mind is trained to avoid pain, but discomfort is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Discomfort is temporary and purposeful. Avoidance is long-lasting and costly. One builds strength, the other builds regret. Every meaningful upgrade in life requires a season of intentional discomfort. New standards feel awkward before they feel natural. New routines feel heavy before they feel normal. The discomfort signals transition, not failure. People who grow consistently are not immune to discomfort. They are fluent in it. They understand its language. They know what it means and how long it lasts. They no longer interpret discomfort as danger, but as direction. The greatest mistake is waiting to feel comfortable before acting. Comfort never arrives before growth, it arrives after. Acting first rewires perception. Action conditions the mind to normalize effort and reduce resistance over time. You do not eliminate discomfort by avoiding challenges. You eliminate it by increasing your capacity. Capacity expands only through repeated exposure to pressure. Each challenge raises your tolerance, making the next one easier. Growth demands force because the human default is preservation. Without intentional pressure, habits revert. Discipline weakens, standards drop. Force is not aggression. It is sustained intention applied daily. When you choose comfort repeatedly, your world shrinks. When you choose growth repeatedly, your world expands. Opportunities increase, confidence deepens, and resilience becomes automatic. The life you want requires a version of you that is comfortable being uncomfortable, willing to apply pressure, and disciplined enough to stay in resistance long enough for transformation to take shape. What you experience on the outside is a direct reflection of what you tolerate on the inside. Standards are the invisible blueprint shaping every visible result. They determine how you spend your time, what behavior you allow, what effort you give, and what excuses you accept. Life never rises above the standards you enforce. Many people confuse goals with standards. Goals are outcomes you want. Standards are conditions you refuse to live below. Goals are optional and negotiable. Standards are non-negotiable and in fork. You can miss a goal and still feel okay. You cannot violate a true standard without immediate correction. Your income reflects your standard for value creation. Your health reflects your standard for self-care. Your relationships reflect your standard for communication and boundaries. Wherever your results are weak, your standards have been loose, inconsistent, or undefined. Standards operate quietly but relentlessly. They influence how quickly you respond, how hard you try after failure, and how you behave when no one is watching. Low standards create delayed reactions and lowered effort. High standards demand immediate alignment and consistent execution. Raising standards is uncomfortable because it exposes the gap between who you are and who you say you want to be. That gap creates pressure. Many people avoid raising standards not because they cannot meet them, but because they don't want to confront that gap. You will never outperform what you tolerate. If lateness is acceptable, consistency will suffer. If excuses are tolerated, progress will slow. If mediocrity is normalized, excellence feels foreign. Tolerance silently becomes permission. Standards are revealed most clearly in private moments. How you prepare when no one is checking. How you speak to yourself when you fail. How much effort you give when the reward is delayed. These moments expose the true internal bar you live by. People often try to improve results without addressing standards. They work harder temporarily, push themselves briefly, or rely on bursts of motivation. But when pressure fades, standards pull them right back to familiar levels. If you want better outcomes, you must decide what is no longer acceptable. That decision precedes change. Until certain behaviors become unacceptable to you internally, they will continue externally. Standards enforce boundaries that motivation can't. Not high standards eliminate internal debate. When something violates a standard, the decision is automatic. There is no negotiation, no justification, no delay. The standard answers the question before the mind can argue. Environment often mirrors standards. Disorganized spaces reflect tolerated disorder. Chaotic schedules reflect tolerated distraction. Unclear goals reflect tolerated ambiguity. Order appears naturally when standards are raised. Raising standards does not mean perfection. It means consistency. It means responding quickly when you fall short. It means correcting rather than excusing. Progress accelerates when recovery time shortens. Many people set standards based on what feels realistic rather than what is required. Reality bends to standards, not the other way around. What once felt unrealistic becomes normal once standards are repeatedly enforced. Self-respect grows directly from standards. Each time you honor them, trust in yourself deepens. Each time you violate them without correction, confidence erodes. The relationship you have with yourself is built on this pattern. Standards determine identity over time. What you repeatedly enforce becomes who you believe you are. Identity then reinforces behavior, locking results into place unless standards change. A shift in standards instantly reshapes expectations, behavior, and outcomes, even before visible results catch up, because the internal operating system has already been rewritten. Many people live as if help is guaranteed, as if at some point someone will arrive with answers, resources, or permission. This belief creates delay. Waiting for rescue feels reasonable, but it quietly transfers responsibility away from where power actually resides. From an early age, dependence is often rewarded. Instructions are given, paths are outlined, and support is provided. Over time, this conditions people to expect direction before action. But growth requires the opposite shift, action before assurance. No mentor can wake up early in your body. No partner can enforce your discipline. No opportunity can save you from hesitation. Guidance can inform, but execution is always personal. The work remains yours regardless of who advises you. Depending on external motivation creates cycles of intensity followed by collapse. When encouragement is present, action increases. When it disappears, momentum fades. This pattern exposes reliance rather than ownership. Taking full responsibility removes the illusion of fairness. Circumstances stop being excuses and become conditions to navigate. Personal power increases the moment blame is eliminated because attention returns to what can be controlled. Many people confuse support with rescue. Support enhances effort. Rescue replaces effort. Growth only responds to the first. Being supported feels empowering. Being rescued weakens capability over time. Waiting for permission is often disguised as humility, but it is frequently fear wearing a polite mask. Fear of being wrong, fear of failing publicly, fear of being seen trying. Responsibility demands courage to move without approval. When responsibility is fully accepted, time accelerates. Decisions are made faster because ownership removes hesitation. Delay feels expensive. Momentum becomes more valuable than comfort. There is a cost to self-abandonment. Each time responsibility is avoided, confidence erodes slightly. Over time, this compounds into doubt and passivity. Ownership reverses that erosion. Power is reclaimed when you stop asking who will help and start asking what must be done. This shift is subtle but transformational. Focus moves from expectation to execution. People who grow the most are not the ones with the most help, but the ones with the least excuses. They adapt instead of appealing. They build instead of waiting. They move while others hesitate. The world responds differently to ownership. Opportunities appear to those already in motion. Resources gather around those taking responsibility. Movement attracts support, not the other way around. You cannot outsource discipline. You cannot delegate belief. You cannot assign responsibility for your future to anyone else without surrendering influence over the outcome. Ownership creates clarity. When the responsibility is fully yours, the path becomes simpler. There may be difficulty, but confusion fades because there is no longer anyone else to wait on. The moment you fully accept that no one is coming, urgency replaces passivity, and action becomes the only logical response. Many people live as if help is guaranteed, as if at some point someone will arrive with answers, resources, or permission. This belief creates delay. Waiting for rescue feels reasonable, but it quietly transfers responsibility away from where power actually resides. From an early age, dependence is often rewarded. Instructions are given, paths are outlined, and support is provided. Over time, this conditions people to expect direction before action. But growth requires the opposite shift, action before assurance. No mentor can wake up early in your body. No partner can enforce your discipline. No opportunity can save you from hesitation. Guidance can inform, but execution is always personal. The work remains yours regardless of who advises you. Depending on external motivation creates cycles of intensity followed by collapse. When encouragement is present, action increases. When it disappears, momentum fades. This pattern exposes reliance rather than ownership. Taking full responsibility removes the illusion of fairness. Circumstances stop being excuses and become conditions to navigate. PERS. Ownal power increases the moment blame is eliminated because attention returns to what can be controlled. Many people confuse support with rescue. Support enhances effort. Rescue replaces effort. Growth only responds to the first. Being supported feels empowering. Being rescued weakens capability over time. Waiting for permission is often disguised as humility, but it is frequently fear wearing a polite mask. Fear of being wrong, fear of failing publicly, fear of being seen trying. Responsibility demands courage to move without approval. When responsibility is fully accepted, time accelerates. Decisions are made faster because ownership removes hesitation. Delay feels expensive. Momentum becomes more valuable than comfort. There is a cost to self-abandonment. Each time responsibility is avoided, confidence erodes slightly. Over time, this compounds into doubt and passivity. Ownership reverses that erosion. Power is reclaimed when you stop asking who will help and start asking what must be done. This shift is subtle but transformational. Focus moves from expectation to execution. People who grow the most are not the ones with the most help, but the ones with the least excuses. They adapt instead of appealing. They build instead of waiting. They move while others hesitate. The world responds differently to ownership. Opportunities appear to those already in motion. Resources gather around those taking responsibility. Movement attracts support, not the other way around. You cannot outsource discipline. You cannot delegate belief. You cannot assign responsibility for your future to anyone else without surrendering influence over the outcome. Ownership creates clarity. When the responsibility is fully yours, the path becomes simpler. There may be difficulty, but confusion fades because there is no longer anyone else to wait on. The moment you fully accept that no nay is coming, urgency replaces passivity, and action becomes the only logical response. Many people wait for understanding before moving, believing clarity must arrive first. They think once everything makes sense, action will feel safe and obvious. This belief creates paralysis. Clarity is rarely the starting point. It is the result of motion. Hesitation often comes from wanting guarantees. The mind wants certainty before risk, confidence before effort, and proof before commitment. But life does not reward those who wait for assurance. It responds to those who move first. Action introduces feedback. Each step taken reveals information that thinking alone cannot access. Mistakes clarify direction. Friction exposes gaps. Progress refines perception in real time. Confidence does not appear fully formed. It is built through repetition. Each completed action reinforces belief in ability. Each avoided action strengthens doubt. Behavior teaches the mind what it is capable of. When action is delayed, fear grows unchecked. Fear feeds on imagination and uncertainty. Once action begins, fear loses power because reality replaces speculation. Movement narrows possibilities into concrete experience. The pursuit of clarity without action leads to overthinking. Overthinking masquerades as preparation, but often functions as avoidance. The mind stays busy while results remain unchanged. Action simplifies choices. Instead of endless options, the path becomes defined by response. What works is kept. What fails is adjusted. Decision-making becomes faster once momentum exists. Confidence increases when action aligns with intention. Integrity between thought and behavior strengthens self-trust. That trust becomes the foundation for sustained momentum. Small actions are especially powerful because they reduce resistance. They prove that movement is possible without overwhelming EFFO. Once started, continuation becomes easier than stopping. Perfectionism delays action by raising the threshold for starting. Progress lowers that threshold by demonstrating that improvement happens through iteration, not initial precision. Learning accelerates when action replaces theory. Experience provides nuance that instruction cannot. Understanding deepens through engagement rather than observation. Clarity often arrives in hindsight. What once felt confusing becomes obvious after movement reveals patterns and consequences. Action sharpens insight retroactively. Momentum alters identity. Someone who acts consistently begins to see themselves as capable and decisive. That identity fuels future confidence without effort. Waiting reinforces passivity. Acting reinforces agency. Over time, these patterns compound into either stagnation or growth, depending on which is practiced. Movement itself becomes the teacher, dissolving confusion and building certainty through repeated engagement with reality. Most people rely on motivation to start, but motivation is unstable and unpredictable. It rises with excitement and disappears with fatigue or distraction. Building a life on something so temporary guarantees inconsistency. Identity is far more powerful than emotion. What you believe about who you are dictates what you do automatically. When behavior aligns with identity, effort feels natural rather than forced. Motivation asks how you feel. Identity answers who you are. One negotiates with circumstances, the other operates regardless of them. This is why motivated people quit, but committed people persist. When identity shifts, behavior follows without resistance. A person who sees themselves as disciplined does not debate whether to act. Action is assumed. Identity removes decision fatigue. Habits are expressions of identity repeated over time. They are not I. Isolated actions, but confirmations of self-concept. Each habit reinforces a belief about who you are becoming. Inconsistency is not a willpower issue. It is an identity mismatch. When actions conflict with self-perception, friction occurs. Alignment eliminates struggle. People often attempt to change habits directly without addressing identity. This works temporarily, but collapses under pressure. Identity-based change sustains itself. Language shapes identity. How you speak about yourself influences behavior. Statements of identity create expectations the mind works to fulfill. Environment reinforces identity. Surroundings, routines, and associations either support or undermine who you believe you are. Adjusting environment strengthens identity alignment. Identity evolves through evidence. Each time you act in accordance with a desired identity, you cast a vote for that version of yourself. Repetition solidifies belief. External rewards motivate briefly. Internal identity rewards permanently. Pride, self-respect, and integrity compound over time. When identity is clear, boundaries become obvious. You naturally reject behaviors that contradict who you are. Discipline becomes self-protection. People with strong identities require less motivation because action feels congruent. Energy is conserved because there is no internal negotiation. Identity-based living creates consistency even during difficulty. Emotions fluctuate, circumstances change, but identity remains stable. The strongest transformations occur when identity is deliberately chosen and repeatedly reinforced through aligned action.